walk. It's been a rough 24 hours trying to get online and fighting the computer. So this is like the first moment I've had to rest. So of course I made the mistake of checking out the latest pointless controversy. And it seems that thanks to our friend Dundermouse, I don't know who that is either, the BROSR have become relevant again. Which I'm sure is exactly what they wanted. And that is, of course, started the spiraling cascade of Raw versus the right way to play. Well, the right way to play. Well, that's not how Gygax played. That's not how we played. My 40 years. Okay, for seriously, does anybody actually still care about this? Or do we because we think we have to? And the people who are defending gaming style A versus gaming style B, do you actually think it matters anymore? Do you actually think people care? Or is it just a show? Now, I am the last person to talk about the BROSR. I have had absolutely, other than 1 2-hour game, had absolutely no regular interaction with the BROSR. They're just something that floats out there like any other aspect of the hobby. Now, personally, being a pro wrestling fan and growing up in the pro wrestling excitement of the 90s, everything they say, everything they do, everything Jethro Johnson says and does seems to me that the BROSR is portraying members of a heel faction, a pro wrestling heel faction in D&D, in tabletop role-playing games. And it's all an act. It's all just a show. They're basically the NWO. They're basically the Nash and Hall and Hogan of pro wrestling. And they have created these characters, and they've made these characters contentious in order to sort of push this to 11. They have a style that they enjoy playing. Some people think that the way they play is a good way to play. Other people say that the way they play is a bad way to play. It doesn't matter. It's the way they've chosen to interpret the rule set and play it. And they have decided to repeatedly push that style into the community. And some of the things they've done is okay. They've brought a lot of attention to certain aspects of the hobby that otherwise might not have gotten attention. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Kashik. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Please purchase a copy of my new product, Vigilantes for Shadow Dark 2, Electric Boogaloo. So the BROSR have pushed this specific philosophy, and they've made a show out of it. So much so that perhaps some of the characters have crossed the kayfabe line. Or perhaps they're just working the marks so well that they're, again, getting a response. You know, I don't know what these guys really are like, much like I don't know what most of the people who I interact with in the tabletop community are really like. I only know the characters they choose to play on, the interweb. Just like, you only know the OGGM by the character I choose to play when I'm talking to you. I'm a little bit more honest than I used to be, but it's still a character. We all take on characters. We all put on masks when we leave the door. So the BROSR puts on a mask. And it's a very contentious, let's see, Kirschik Bank. I have a brand new superhero role-playing game, the last superhero role-playing game I'm going to work on, available on drive-thru right now for $10. It's called Vigilantes for Shadow Dark 2. And thank you for asking. So Dundermouse, another character in the tabletop role-playing community, did a video with Griff Morgan, that, an individual who's gone out of his way to put as far as to be dislikable. RPG Pundit, another individual who has created a character that he portrays when he's talking. And our good friend Daniel from Driving in Dragons, who, Daniel and I have crossed swords once or twice, but generally I respect the guy. And I'm very, excited to see how he has progressed and changed from when we first crossed swords. Now, all these guys have different takes on playing and stuff like that, right? I guess there's a baseball game today or something. We don't want to bother those people. So we'll go a different direction. All right, anyways, that's just the preamble. This all sets up to, of course, opening the floodgates of the argument, you're playing D&D wrong. There is only one true way to play D&D, and that's rules as written. And if you're not playing rules as written, you're playing it wrong. Except some people argue that there's a right way to play, and Gygax never played rules as written. Other people, like myself, will argue there's no such things as rules as written. There's rules as interpreted. Rules as perceived. Good afternoon. Oh, weather just changed. And, you know, so we know what it says in D&D. But if it was perfect, if it was exactly what the individuals who wrote it meant for it to be, there would never have been paramutations and articles and errata and a second edition, much less the dozen of other variations and the hundreds of OSR titles out there, because we all perceive it differently. Go to sleep. Thank you. Are they actually need to sleep? I'm so tired. Go to sleep, buddy. Valerina Dobbins sent me $1. Thank you. Maybe I'll actually get that $1 at some point in time. I don't know how that works, but thank you. Randomly, every now and then, like a 35-cent shows up on my account. I've asked people to explain it to me. Nobody can. It's just magic, like most of the interweb. All right, where was I? Okay, so yeah. Trouble with rules as written versus the BROSR or any other of these groups is, well, we're all very passionate. We wouldn't be in this silly hobby if we weren't very passionate about this hobby. And we're all very passionate about the way we play. And we don't like anybody telling us we're playing wrong. We don't like anybody telling us our art is wrong. And that's the wonderful thing, is art doesn't necessarily have to be wrong. I mean, there are people out there who have paid millions of dollars for a Jackson Pollock and an Andy Warhol. And then there's millions of people out there who look at Jackson Pollock's work and Andy Warhol's works and go, you're joking, right? You go to any modern art museum in the world, and I bet you will find a display of just what looks like blocks and a car. Every modern art museum I've ever been to, there's a car. And they're priced for like 25, 35, 1.1 million. And they sell. Jackson Pollock's work sells. You look at Jackson Pollock's work and you're like, that's just dots of paint on paper. So there's no wrong way to do art. Jackson Pollock proves that. That was Andy Warhol's whole thing. But there is how you perceive the art. There's how you perceive the information in rules as written. So usually the rules as written argument tends to focus either on original or advanced Dungeons & Dragons. You never hear anybody argue about rules as written for 4th or rules as written for Traveler or anything. So there are going to be a lot of people, because of this interview Dundermess did, arguing how wrong Jethro is, how wrong Griff is, how wrong Pundit is. Personally, I think Pundit is a character this individual tends to play, and maybe he's gone a little too far. Just like I think Jethro Johnson is a character that individual chooses to play, but maybe sometimes he takes the character too far. You can lose yourself in a character. Lord knows I have. I've gotten into unnecessary arguments and cost myself a lot of friends because of that. So it's easy, especially when it's something you're passionate about. And what's the most thing we can be passionate about is how we perceive something we love. And we love this hobby. Otherwise, it wouldn't have lasted 50 years and there wouldn't have been so many different permutations. And because we love this hobby, we want to share our passion for the hobby, we inevitably want to also tell people, they're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Stop it. You're playing my game wrong. The trouble is, much like when we perceive art, and one person goes, that painting sucks, and another person goes, that painting's genius, is we don't know. We literally do not know what was in their brain. I do not know what Gygax intended Dungeons and Dragons to be when he first started writing it down. I know how people have perceived it over the years. I know how the people who were there perceived it over the years. But we'll never know 100% what he meant it to be, right? And he kept rewriting it because he was never happy with it. And even after he parted ways with happy, whatever he saw in his brain never quite translated to paper. Otherwise, he would have just stopped, right? If I've written something, there are poems I've written when I'm like, I'm 100% happy with that poem. I never need to rewrite it. And there's other poems that I rewrite like 4 or 5 times a year, right? And even though I just published a product, I'm still looking at it going, I can fix this. I can do a better version. I'm not planning on it because I'm exhausted with superheroes. But, you know, it's my baby. I had to get it out there. Shout out to Kelsey Dion and Shadowdark. So you're going to look at rules of whatever game you're playing. And we're going to use D&D because, just like Star Wars, that's what everybody knows, right? So you're going to pick your favorite version of D&D. We'll just go by the big ones, right? 0 edition, 2nd edition, advanced, double advanced, 3rd, double 3rd, whatever the fuck 4th was, 5th, 5.5. We're not going to count permutations or box sets. We're just going to do the big 5, right? So you've got your copy of the big 5 out. And this is a true story because this is what happened when we were playtesting 5th edition at CES Games and Anime in 2014, 2015. We had the D&D Next rules and the D&D Next rules follow-up. We had the product that would eventually become 5e. And we all read the product together at the exact same time as it was written. And not a single one of us got it right. Everybody perceived it in a different way, interpreted it in a different way. None of us, of the 5 people, including a lawyer, got advantage and disadvantage right. And none of us got how 5th edition did criticals or bonus actions right. We all interpreted them incorrectly. And one of us interpreted them one way, one of us has interpreted them a different way, but none of us interpreted them the way they were written, even though they were all written the same. We all read the same thing. We all took in the same rules as written, and we all perceived it differently. And that led to people arguing, tables that were playing 4th, tables that were playtesting 5th, tables that were playing Pathfinder, arguing over the rules as written. But the problem was never the rules as written. The problem was rules as perceived. And a year later, after doing advantage and disadvantage for wrong for like a year, after sending multiple letters to Wizards of the Coast regarding the playtest, Wizards of the Coast sends us back going, no, that's not how it's supposed to be, guys. But that is the number one interpretation that everybody got wrong. This is how advantage and disadvantage is supposed to go. And we're all like, oh, okay, yeah, you know what, that makes more sense. Yeah, now that works. Now advantage and disadvantage makes total sense, and it's a great mechanic. Where has this been? Same with criticals. We got criticals wrong for like 2 years. We got bonus actions wrong for like 2-3 years. Until somebody finally went, no, this is how it works. We've been interpreting them wrong. And we argued with people because the way we perceived rules as written was different than the way they perceived rules as written. I am not Christian. I am a Muslim. Okay. I am not Christian. I'm a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Each to their own, man. Whatever makes you happy. I'm not here to judge. This channel's about role-playing and nothing else. And occasionally maybe tiddlinies, but mostly role-playing. So, What I'm trying to say as I meander my way through this lovely afternoon, rules is written versus the right way to play. People are going to argue with you, especially after this thing that Dundermounts and the BROSR did last week over what the BROSR is, what the right way to play is, Bronstein, what Gygax, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to hear it, and people are going to say, fling poop at each other and say horrible things at each other, and the fight will escalate to the point of pointless ugliness. And you've got to kind of wonder, is that what the BROSR wanted? You know, is that what Jethro wanted? Is that what Griff wanted? Is that what Pundit wanted? Because they poked your buttons. They built you up. They got you angry. And then they just sit and watch the response and hope that response, you know, leads a few Seth bucks to their pockets, right? They know how to work the marks. The BROSR is a pro wrestling heel faction because they know how to work the marks. They know what to say to get people to be upset. People are upset at Griff. People are upset at Dundermouse. People are upset at Jethro. People are upset at Pundit. But that's also attention that Dundermouse and Griff and Jethro and Pundit are getting. And suddenly the BROSR is relevant again. And Jethro is relevant again. And everybody's talking about the right way to play. How to win at D&D. You know, and everybody's talking about what a horrible person that guy is. You know. And I'm sure somebody's going to watch this video and go, what a horrible person the OG GM is. Which is fine. You know, as I said the other day, I don't care what you say about me as long as you don't lie. So, much like with the perception of art, the right way to play versus rules as written is completely different. The right way to play is the play that everybody at your table agrees upon paying and continues to play. And if after a year or two you discover, oh no, we interpreted that rule wrong, you can choose to adapt it. Oh yeah, this is the way it was supposed to be, i.e. advantage and disadvantage, because when you play it the way it's supposed to be played, it's excellent. Or you can just go, you know what, I like our way better, and stick with it, like the way we did criticals. We all agreed the way we were doing criticals was more fun and better and more cinematic than the actual way. We were all comfortable with it, so we didn't change. And that's fine, because that's how we agreed the right way to play for our table was. Other people would come and go, and they'd either go, yes, I love this style, or no, this style isn't not for me. Often they were more insulting than that, but you know, we're trying to keep it PG. And that's okay. It's okay if you don't like the right way I play. You can disagree with the right way I play, because that's the way I play and I enjoy. And that works with some people and it doesn't work with others. And it doesn't matter because it's a stupid game. Rules as intended versus rules as written. How I perceive the art as opposed to what the artist intended. I don't fucking know what Jackson Pollock intended. I only know how I perceive it. And I know that there are people who will pay millions of dollars just to have a Jackson Pollock, which is basically just blobs of color on a piece of paper. You know? Andy Warhol's whole point was I could sell a painting of a can of soup and people will buy it. And he did. Because he understood how to work the marks. The BROSR understands how to work the marks, how to get you to make videos about them, how to get you to argue over the right way to play. The right way to play is whatever play you're playing right now that works for you. Now, as for rules of written, I said this yesterday, the best explanation for rules of written I've heard was paraphrased by one person who was paraphrasing Victor, the Stay Buff Marshmallow Man. So I don't know how accurate this is, but it works for me. Hi, thank you for subbing, John. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Please donate to the Ko-Fi. Please check out my work on Drive-Thru. Vigilantes for Shadow Dark, now available for $10. A working, growing product. Oh, there's the baby. Speaking of babies. So this is the best explanation I've heard for rules as written, right? We open rule book, right? We open 2nd edition Dungeon Master's Guide. And we all go to page, I don't know, 12. And on page 12 it says, I don't know, in order to put on a t-shirt. And here are the rules as written to put on a t-shirt. We all have the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, we all go to page 12. We all read the correct as written rules, how to put on a t-shirt, how to make a sandwich, how to do backstab. I don't know, because I don't have one in front of me. Just making shit up, for example, right? For cinematic reasons. Okay, so rules as written is whatever it says on that page. And as long as we all have the same printing, the same book, and we're all going to page 12, we're all going to read the same 2 columns of information. How to make a, how to backstab, how to climb walls, whatever it is, how to make a sandwich. All right, that's the rules as they're written. And if we're discussing rules as written, we're not discussing philosophy or interpretation or what you do at your table or, well, that's not how Gygax played. We're talking about what it actually says on page 12. I'm going to read these instructions on how to backstab, how to make a sandwich, how to put on a t-shirt. This paragraph, that is what he wrote. But my brain might interpret them completely different, and when I get up and walk away and go to the table and sit with my friends, this is how I've interpreted what it said on page 12. So this is how we're going to interpreted what it said on page 12, because that's what I read. Now, maybe what I read is exactly to the letter of what he wrote, but chances are my brain has changed it slightly. Because, and this is scientifically correct, I'm sorry guys, none of us perceive things the same way. Every second of every moment, our perception of the universe is affected by what happened a second before us, not to mention my 60 years of life experience and everything that's going on in my broken head. This has been proven in science and in social science. It's why police can never get 100% accurate description of a felon. Because even if 8 people see the exact same felon do the exact same thing, when the police ask for a description, those 8 people will give completely different descriptions. This has been proven in laboratory settings. It's been proven in quantum physics. If you observe a product, the product changes. It's been observed in my other career, anthropology. Once you observe a tribe or an animal, the behavior changes. But really, the behavior hasn't changed. It's I'm interpreting the behavior. What the felon wore hasn't changed. How I interpreted what I saw is what's changed. What it says on page 12 does not change. Those are the rules as written. Your interpretation, this is where the BROSR and Pundit and Griff and myself and all these other guys are able to push your buttons. I interpreted it one way. You interpreted it a different way. The BROSR interpreted it a different way. Pundit interpreted it a different way. And they will argue that the way they interpreted it is the way that's the right way to play. At which point I will say, but I don't care, play whatever way you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're having fun. It's not rocket science. You can't play wrong. And if you are playing wrong, it's not like you're gonna break anything. Oh, you're playing D&D wrong. Who cares? Did the way I'm playing D&D affect reality in any way, shape, or form other than this table? Did I crash the Hindenburg? Did I fail that, because I'm playing D&D wrong? Did anybody get hurt? Did anybody die? Am I breaking any laws? Did I cause a fire? No. Then who cares? No one cares. My group is having fun playing this way. Who cares if it's wrong? It's not science. It's art. It's playing in a sandbox. And as long as I'm enjoying how I'm playing in the sandbox, how is it hurting you? We're not doing rules as written. We're just playing. Now, I will sit down and have a scientific discussion with you about what it says on page 12. But rules as written and playing the right way are different things. But this is how people like the BROSR stay relevant. This is what happened with Dundermouse in his interview. He got people thinking. He stirred up people's emotions. He pushed all the right buttons to get the fans to mark out, to react to the kayfabe. And now they're getting attention. I'm making them relevant by talking about them. Hi, how are you? Bob paints Minnie, and Jethro especially, he has no relevance at all. Yes, Bob, but that's what they want. They want you to hate them, just like Ric Flair wants you to hate him, just like MJF wants you to hate him, just like people hate, you know, that villain or hate that wrestler or hate that performer, because that's what they want. That's the character. Now, I will say Jethro occasionally has gone too far. Pundit has gone too far. Fuck, I've gone too far. There are dozens of people out there who I have, you know, crossed the bridge I shouldn't have crossed with. J. Scott Garrity, for one. I mean, you know, he said some horrible things about me, but I didn't have to respond. Condor continues to say horrible things about me. I could have chosen not to respond, but I fell in the trap. And that's what they want. So there is no right way to play. There is rules as written. There's what it says on page 12. But the way you're playing page 12, how you interpreted what it says on page 12, that's your way of playing. And that's okay, as the other 4 or 5 people at your table who have also gone, I like this way. This is the rules that I appreciate. This is how I perceive the rules, so they're okay with me, right? So don't get mad at these people who are making all these videos telling you you're playing wrong, or BROSR this, Jethro that, Pundit this, Griff that, OGGM is an idiot. Remind yourself, take a breath, enjoy this lovely thing, this lovely afternoon here in Fresno, Nevada, which looks surprisingly a lot like a park in Ventura County. Weird. Remind yourself that at the end of the day, what it says on page 12 doesn't matter. What it says, how you play your game, doesn't matter. Anything I say about this game doesn't matter. Anything anybody else says about this game, it doesn't matter, because it's a game. It's not real. Nothing I do in my 60 some odd years or 40 some odd years or however many years of playing this silly game has any actual relevance. If you don't play Vigilantes for Shadow Dark the way I wrote them, the world will not end, and I will not care. If you don't play D&D the way Gygax wrote him, the car will not crash. The guy getting open heart surgery will still get open heart surgery. Stocks will not rise and fall. The world will not end. The hobby will continue long after idiots like me are yelling on the little box. Because it's a game. Because it's art, because it's a bunch of kids playing in a sandbox, and occasionally one kid and another kid argue over a truck. The only difference between the kids in the sandbox and us is the kids forgive each other, and 2 minutes later, they're happy to go back to playing with each other. That's the resilience that kids have, that somehow along the line, people like you and me have forgotten. Now, if somebody pokes me the wrong way in the sandbox, I'll be angry at them for years, right? Howdy Simon, howdy Mr. Jacko. And if I'm not playing 1DD, what does it matter? Well, be old in the folk house arguing over tapioca pudding. I would like nothing better than to be in the old folks' home eating tapioca. Wait a minute. This is a 55 plus community, and I did have pudding for lunch. Wait a minute. Am I just a crazy old nerd yelling in the wind? God damn it, Billy, in my day we played D&D with rocks. We didn't have 12 sides, we didn't have 6 sides. We had one side, rock. We had one character class, rock. And if you didn't play D&D the way we played it, with rocks, we threw rocks at you. When your character died, we took your rock away. That's how we played D&D in the old days, Billy. And if you don't play D&D like that, well, you're playing it wrong. But on the upside, OGGM, I'm not breaking any windows. Well, Billy, there is that. So play whatever way you want to play. Who cares what Gygax wrote? Gygax pooped just like you and me. Who cares what Jethro says? Jethro poops, I assume, just like you and me. Who cares what anybody says? Or whoever is going to react to this video and say I'm a straw man and I don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's a game. Are you having fun? Are you lucky enough to find... That's me, man who yells at clouds. That's my actual name in Hebrew. The language of my people, OGGM in Hebrew, is man who yells at cloud. On my coffin, it'll say, "Get off my land, meddling kids." Yeah, what was I saying? Blah, blah, blah. This man yelling at clouds. Someday I'll go away and somebody else will come along and the argument will never end because we love the game. But it's when we forget it's a game that people get hurt. And that costs us, for every person, I never want to deal with again, Condor. There are dozens of people who I wish I was still talking to. But because of this passion, we lost touch because we forgot it's just, sharing a truck. And occasionally that truck, maybe we fight, I cry. But 4 minutes later, we're back to sharing pudding because of kids remember that it's a game. You're playing. You're lucky enough to find 3 other people who will show up once a month and dedicate 3 hours to playing the game. You are lucky compared to most of us. So don't waste that precious time arguing over what it says on page 12 of the rule book. No one cares. Just play. Play the game that you love. You want to have a educational, diagnostic conversation over exactly how page 12 is written, that's fine. But there's no right way to play. There's the way I play. There's the way you play. And sometimes, if we're lucky, those play styles work together. And that's wonderful. That's magic. And sometimes those play styles don't work together. And that's wonderful. That's magic. We're still playing. Anyways, that's enough nonsense for today. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Please consider supporting the OGGM through the Ko-Fi. Or the best way you can support me is head on over to Drive-Thru and pick up Vigilantes for Shadow Dark. Only $10. Just came out officially this morning. Oop, Monarch. Till next time, get off my land, you stinking kids.